Okay, so today we are going to move on in chapter 2. We're going to cover section 3. And in this lesson, we are going to be applying deductive reasoning, and we're going to be learning 2 laws. So first of all, let's see what deductive reasoning is. So deductive reasoning will be using facts, definitions, accepted properties, and laws of logic to form a logical argument. So what we're using for deductive reasoning are things that we know that are true. And then again, we're going to learn 2 laws of logic today. Okay, so yesterday we talked about inductive reasoning, where we look at things that's happened in the past and we look for a pattern. But again, today, deductive reasoning will be using facts, definitions, properties, and again, the 2 laws of logic that we're going to learn today. All right, let's see what the first law is. And the first law is called the law of detachment. And the law of detachment states, if the hypothesis of a true conditional statement is true, then the conclusion is also true. Now, yesterday we talked about the hypothesis, and it would be named with the letter P, and then the conclusion could be represented by the letter Q. So again, this P represents the hypothesis, and the Q is the conclusion. And then the arrow is indicating the order it goes in. So if P, then Q. So our statement here is, if it's Friday, then I eat pizza. My hypothesis is today is Friday, and you can conclude by using the law of detachment that I will eat pizza today. So this is a true conditional, and if the true conditional, if the conclusion, if the hypothesis is true or the whole conditional is true, then you can conclude that the conclusion is also true. Okay, so that's the first law. The second law is the law of syllogism. And this one states, and it's used when the conclusion of one of the statements is the hypothesis of the other statement. So we sort of have an overlap. So example, we're going to be given 2 true conditionals, and we want to write a new conditional statement and take out the overlap. So we're basically going to blend these 2 statements together. Now notice, see how the end of the first one, the conclusion, is the hypothesis of the second statement. So when we go to blend it, we're going to take out the overlap. So I go to the movies, I go to the movies goes out, and then you can conclude, take the original hypothesis and put it together with the conclusion of the second statement. So you remove the overlap, and this is the law of syllogism. So the first statement was, if it's Friday, then I go to the movies. The second statement is, if I go to the movies, then I eat popcorn. Notice I go to the movies is the same in both, so they sort of cancel each other out, and you can conclude that if it's Friday, then I eat popcorn, because going to the movies will cancel out. That is your law of syllogism. Example 1. If 90 degrees is less than the measure of angle R, which is less than 180, then angle R is obtuse. The measure of angle R is 155, so it wants me to use the law of detachment and come up with a statement. I know it's kind of fuzzy, I guess, because, oh, here we go, it's clearing up. Okay, so what statement can I make using the law of detachment about angle R? If the measure of angle R is in between 90 and 180, then that tells me that R is obtuse. It's telling me the measure of angle R is 155. Again, the measure of angle R right here is an angle that's going to be between 90 and 180. So I know any angle that's between 90 and 180 is obtuse. So it's telling me the measure of angle R is 155. Is 155 in between 90 and 180? Yes, it is. So by the law of detachment, I could state that angle R is obtuse. So I can use that conclusion. It is true. If Janelle gets a job, then she can afford a car. If Janelle can afford a car, then she will drive to school. It's telling you to use the law of syllogism and come up with the new statement. So remember, this is where the conclusion of the first statement overlaps with the hypothesis of the second, and it cancels out. So notice she can afford a car, and then here she can afford a car. So that's going to go away, and now we can just rewrite it using the original hypothesis. So we're going to say, if Janelle gets a job, then she will drive to school. So when you see it repeat, that should be a clue that we're going to be using the law of syllogism, and you're going to cancel out the overlap. Now, sometimes they tell you which law to use and ask you to write a statement, and then other times they're going to ask you to state the law that is being illustrated. So here it says, if you get an A or better on your math test, then you can go to the movies. Then the next statement, if you go to the movies, then you can watch your favorite actor. Then this new statement they just made from the combination of these is, if you get an A or better on your math test, then you can watch your favorite actor. Which law did they use here? Yes?
Law of syllogism.
Perfect. They used the law of syllogism. Good. What would be a statement you could come up with that would demonstrate the law of detachment? Maybe you could say, if you get a 91, then you could watch your favorite actor. So any kind of grade that would have been an A. Let's try the next one. State the law of logic that's illustrated here. If x is greater than 12, then x plus 9 is greater than 20, and the value of x is 14. Therefore, x plus 9 is greater than 20. Anybody know which law they're using? Yes.
Detachment.
Detachment. Notice they're both statements are coming to the same conclusion. So this would be the law of detachment. And the last example. This one's asking us to decide whether inductive or deductive reasoning is used to reach the conclusion, and then explain your results. Remember, inductive reasoning is using a pattern or looking at the past. Deductive reasoning is based on facts. So here it says, each time Monica kicks a ball up in the air, it returns to the ground. So the next time Monica kicks a ball up in the air, it will return to the ground. Which type of reasoning did they use to decide that that ball's going to hit the ground? Inductive, because they watched what happened every time she kicked the ball. They looked for a pattern. So this is inductive. And then here, all reptiles are cold-blooded. Parrots are not cold-blooded. Sue's pet parrot is not a reptile. And what would this reasoning be? Yes? It would be deductive because it's based on a fact that all reptiles are cold-blooded. So this would be deductive reasoning. Okay, it's based on a fact. And that is determining the two laws of logic, the law of detachment, the law of syllogism, and it's also giving an example of how we can see the difference between inductive and deductive reasoning. So you do have homework on this, so you'll look for the 2-3 PDF homework assignment, and then tomorrow when you come in, you'll do the 2-3 warm-up, and then we'll go over the answers, and then tomorrow we'll learn 2-4. You do have a quiz on Tuesday on 2-1 to 2-4, so on Monday we will review for the quiz. That's it.